You were lying on your bed, staring at the ceiling. It had been a few weeks now, maybe 3, maybe 4, that you had joined the Hazbin Hotel. You had been the first of the Serpentious, surprising everyone. Of course, Charlie, the owner of the hotel, had been super excited, at least until the radio demon Alistair had chimed in. Of course, he was all for you being here, but he warned everyone of the kind of demon you were, with an almost too gleeful smile. Your demon kind was the reason you had been pushed aside by everyone. This was your first and obviously only chance to change anything in your second life, and you were not going to throw that away. In hell, you had become a frenzy. A unique demon. Outwardly useless, no powers to speak of, and yet they could transform, an ability usually reserved for the most powerful of overlords, into ravenous monsters. These transformations were sometimes even permanent. Most instances of these permanent transformations coming from the layers of lust and gluttony. Though understandable, more than likely these frenzies were permanently surrounded by their triggers, which didn't allow them to calm down. Worst of all, anything could be a trigger. Usually negative stuff. But it was observed, mostly in the deeper layers, that apparently frenzies could transform through positive means as well, such as certain drugs or sex. The only upside was that the trigger was just one thing. While this one thing could be anything, if the thing was discovered, all it took was avoiding it. Still, frenzies were left on their own devices, usually. Avoided by gangs and deal-makers alike. A lonely existence, but probably the closest to being safe. Even if it had more negative connotations, as because of this you were luckily saved from any more exciting group activities in the hotel. Most of the time you just watched TV, or played with a video game console provided by Vaggie, Charlie's girlfriend. Still, having everyone prance around you, even if they called themselves your friends, well, that was quite upsetting and really patronizing. Well, knowing that being patronizing wasn't your trigger seemed to be all they cared about in the end. You rolled on your side. At least the bed was nice. Actually, it was really nice. You rubbed your face against the soft pillow, closing your permanently heavy eyes. Only to open them seconds later, as through a doggy door under your main one, Nifty burst into. She was the maid of the hotel. "Tina, Tina, 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 Tina!" she shouted at the top of her lungs. Immediately, you're fully awake. What? "Oh, nothing," she said. "Just checking on your bug problem." I don't have a bug problem. The hotel had a slight issue with cockroaches, but they remained mostly in the basement and lobby, never really entering the living quarters. The Cyclops demon looked vaguely in your direction for a moment, before raising both arms. "But I need to make sure. I'm the maid!" You blinked perplexed. Then you raised a finger like you were back in elementary school in the hopes she let you talk. How about I let you search my room for any insects, and in the meantime I get out of your hair." It was dangerous to be in stabbing range of Nifty. Her eye widened. "You would let me do my job?" She jumped on your bed, and a split second later, your foreheads touched. Her giant eye focused on you. "That is the nicest thing anyone's ever done to me in the past 30 minutes, The two of you remained like this for a while, not saying a word. The silence was awkward. Can I go now? Nifty nodded before jumping off of you, pulling out a large sewing needle from her belt. She giggled. Come out, wherever you are. Okay, better not bother her then. Quickly you slipped out of your room. You sighed behind the closed door, placing a hand on your chest. Your heart beat quite fast. Maybe you should eat something. You shook your head, sighing again, deciding to go to the lobby instead. Knowing Nifty, she'd take all day to do this. You sat down at the lobby's bar, causing Husk to immediately shudder. Hey, Missy. Tina. Tina. Yeah. Hey, Tina. You scratch your shoulder, embarrassed. Nifty is busy in my room. The cat demon nodded. Can I have a drink? Sharply he inhaled. Your rules. You sighed. Come on. You don't even know if alcohol causes it. Can never be too sure. You pouted. Absolutely no vices for you. But I know I can drink vodka and whiskey, and I have drank a few cocktails. Maybe I can, deal with rum, not sure. Yeah, I don't feel like trial and erroring this. Please. He sighed deeply. Well, Charlie and the others are in here. Fine. Make an exception. He leaned down to his fridge. Let me make something up for you. Smiling, you placed an arm under your chin for support. He was throwing a few liquids into a metal can and started shaking. Pretty much winging this one, just the stuff we know doesn't cause any effects, plus some juice. Sounds lovely, you said sarcastically. You really were only after the effect of alcohol, not really looking forward to the taste. After he was done shaking, he poured the concoction into a glass that already had clear ice cubes in it. He filled it halfway, added some brown sugar on top, some crushed mint as well. Alright, let's just try this. You took a sip. It burned. Like your mouth was on fire. You coughed. At least you didn't spit it out. Are you alright? You nodded. You rubbed over your mouth. He grinned wildly at you. Lightweight, he mused. Not everyone sells stuff to me. I'm not used to it. You pouted again. It was that pout the cat even liked so much about you. Alright. Let me try something else. You nodded, causing him to take the glass and gulping down the drink in one go. Licking his lips, he nodded. Yeah, you're right. Too much rum. Still, though, he thought, he mixed another drink in accordance to the rules that apply to you and your own experience. Through trial and error, he ended up with 90% juice, some syrup, sugar, and very little of a very strong vodka he had. There was no specific cocktail, just something you assumed you'd enjoy, and well, you did. After only a sip, you smiled happily, causing him to blush a little. This one is good. You smiled, almost making the colon-free emoji face as your ears twitched happily. Husk, meanwhile, almost rolled his eyes. Yeah, it's basically juice, he thought. But seeing you happy was all he needed to make his heart jump. He found you relatively cute. While your features were quite humanoid, you had cat ears poking horizontally out of the sides of your head. Had long, shoulder-long black hair that even after combing for 2 hours straight still looked like you had just gotten out of bed. You had dull, almost herbivore-like teeth, if it wasn't for super dangerous-looking canines. Almost like those of a blood demon. What was cool about your teeth was, however, the fact that, just like your white eyes, they had a light glow to them. In pitch darkness, you could be mistaken for a hell-born smiler demon. It wasn't for the fact that you had a physical body. But of course, as a frenzy, he knew that your cute appearance was treacherous at best. Like the light of an anglerfish in the deepest abyss of the ocean. You kept drinking with the barman, despite him knowing the danger. But you said alcohol did nothing, and he was put here for purposes of booze. It was once he ran out of the juice that you were drinking that he became perplexed. Your face was a little red by now. You really were lightweight. No more juice, you complained. You had a little too much anyways, he thought. But he kept his mouth shut. Well, there was one thing though. Something curious. Something pink that he hasn't noticed before. It was in a heart-shaped bottle. He pulled it out. What's that? I vaguely remember that Angel brought this once. Well, apparently it was used as a background prop in a sponsored movie of his. The makers of this stuff being said sponsors. He read the back side of it. Well, apparently it has some bourbon in it. Low percent too. Probably something eggnoggy. Just as an example, I mean. You could probably drink this. It was very light. And so he filled a shot glass with it and pushed it over to you. Well, bottoms up. You took a sniff. It did indeed smell like a mix of eggnog and a strawberry syrup of all things. The liquid itself was pink and quite thick. You quickly gulped it down, expecting it to be vile, but it was okay. Though for a moment you just looked at the shot glass, a strange expression on your face. Can I have more? Husk looked at you uneasy. Your almost deadpan was making him concerned. And yet, he filled another shot glass, which he soon realized was a mistake. As after you gulped that one down as well, you were no longer yourself. Eyes widened, quickly like a snake. You ripped the bottle out of his claws, shoving the entire thing into your mouth, your jaws unhinging like those of a snake in a gross yet impressive manner. It was quite horrifying. Oh crap. So, bourbon it is. That was your trigger, it seemed. Great. His favorite alcohol as well. Go figure. He watched you quickly transforming in front of his eyes, your body becoming more lean as your mouth kept crunching on the glass bottle, gulping Husk snuck away from the bar. However, as he took a footstep on the stairs to the second floor, they creaked, causing your head to snap towards him. Your eyes had turned bloodshot and were seemingly growing. Your mouth as well had doubled in size. Teeth, while completely mangled by the glass, were already regrowing into shark-like dentures. Blood was spewing from your gums, lips, and tongue from the glass shards. Your hair, too, had turned white. Long, blade-like claws were violently tearing through your fingertips, shredding through skin and bone. Arms creaking and cracking as they elongated. Even your skin was tearing from its inability to contain your new body's proportions. It wasn't a nice and easy metamorphosis like those of Alistair. It looked painful, violent, and was very bloody. Shit. Shrieking, you began to chase after him on all fours. His hairs stood up as he rushed up the stairs. When he was still an overlord, he probably could have turned into something of equal power to yours and taken you on until you calmed down, but since Alistair had his soul under contract, he was severely limited. You chased him into the first floor, the twisting hallways of the hotel becoming a nightmarish maze that was incredibly difficult to navigate, due to miscellaneous decorative furniture and the constant possibility of running into a dead end. Considering what was behind him, that dead end was not some colorful description of a hallway that led into nothing but quite literally an end where he died. And considering he still had his overlord level regeneration abilities, this is going to be a death he'd probably go through over and over and over and over again until you calm down. He hated the heavy metallic noises of your claws slamming on the ground behind him, especially when they seemed to get louder. Somehow, the cat demon managed to reach the second floor, you closely behind him, almost slipping on the stairs. Alistair lived somewhere here. His room, a pocket dimension he created, so it always took over empty random rooms daily. But he was getting out of breath. Alistair! God, by here, please! He yelped. Meanwhile, inside his room, eating the carcass of a deer, the radio demon's ear twitched. He had this strange feeling someone called his name just now. Curiously, he approached his door, only to open it to quite the racket. He watched Husk zip past him, on all fours like a proper little scared kitty cat. But then his eyes for but a moment fell upon the grotesque monstrosity you had become. At this point, your arms had become so long you used them instead of your legs to push yourself forward. You just uselessly dragged them behind yourself as your feet were slowly turning into big metal spikes. The radio demon sighed, closing his door and changing where his pocket dimension was located, just to avoid you getting his scent. This little scuffle between you and Husk was beneath him. But, as he thought, the cat was still a very valuable soul. And reluctantly he snapped his fingers, causing Husk to immediately disappear from the hallway. Though, since he was still running, he slammed face first into Alistair. Afraid and shaking, he jumped back. Sorry, boss. I didn't mean to. That's quite alright, my good man. Mind explaining to me what you did with our lovely Tina? I did nothing. Fine, we were drinking. Alistair scoffed. You know you're not supposed to do that. Husk shrugged. Well, it's too late now. Also, it's not alcohol that's doing it. It seems to be specifically bourbon. That's like she drank something with bourbon in it and then she transformed. Alistair raised an eyebrow. I assumed it was something more spectacular, like being rejected that would finally make her snap. Oh well. Just a mild disappointment, I suppose. Husk shrugged. Very well then. Alistair was interrupted by the noise of your blades slashing at his door. Of course, his cursed wood would hold, but he wasn't one to be imprisoned in his own pocket dimension, especially by a demon he thought he could immediately destroy. Well, Husk, my good man, how about you deal with that? What? How? I don't know. Make her happy. How the fuck am I supposed to make that thing happy? Alistair rolled his eyes. What has our dear Tina been missing since she arrived? My dear Husk, you're as blind as a bat. She has been stuck in hell all alone, and then she has been stuck in her room all alone. People avoid her because of what she is. And the fact that I actually have to explain this to you, well, I think I'm gonna add another decade to your contract. The cat shuddered. This is all the help I'll give you, Husk. Alistair hissed. Now deal with this. Ta-ta! Alistair snapped his fingers, teleporting Husk right behind you with an audible thud, causing your neck to turn 180 degrees with a loud crack. By now you had coughed up all the glass shards and your mouth had stopped bleeding. Hi. Husk took a careful step backwards, his hands raised in the defensive position. You slammed the hand forward, dragging yourself closer to him, your mouth growling, hot air smelling of alcohol quickly huffing into his direction. Closing his eyes, Husk built himself up to maximum size, spread his arms and wings, and said, Fine, just take me. You screeched, throwing your entire body onto him. And yet quickly he sidestepped, managing to position himself under your chest. And then, his face pressed between your breasts, he wrapped his furry arms around your hips, before your entire body slammed onto his. Air was pressed out of him, and he coughed. With all that metal, your body was at least 4 times heavier now, but it seemed to work. You didn't move. Slowly, Husk breathed to calm down his heart. For a moment, the two of you remained like this, and then you finally went limp. Oh, thank God. No, Husk, God had nothing to do with this, chuckled Alistair as he poked his head out of his room. Without me, you'd be just a heavy little snack for her. Shut up. Alistair snickered. Don't bother me again, Husk. The radio demon slammed the door shut, the audible finger snap indicating he once again changed the position of his room. Piece of shit, muttered Husk under his breath. Well, there was one good thing out of this, and that was that you were fainted, and your body was slowly reverting to how it usually was. Meaning, He wasn't burdened long by the weight of your heavy metal claws and oversized arms and head for long. He carried you on his shoulders to your room, where he kicked out Nifty, saying, "There's a huge mess on the second and first floor. Go fix it."
Okie dokie,
she shouted, saluting him. Husker then threw you onto your bed. Sighing, he sat down next to you. He felt exhausted. You grunted as you slowly woke up. Husk was still sitting at the edge of your bed. Husk? What are you doing? Something wrong? You looked around. Wait, how did I get here?
Well, you...
Wait, did I go crazy? He inhaled.
No, actually, you just had a little much.
Oh. Hurry. You rubbed your forehead. All I remember is how good that drink tasted. The cat demon blinked and then inhaled deeply.
You liked it?
Yeah? Why? He grinned painfully at you.
You said you didn't, actually. You said you hated it.
He was speaking through clenched teeth. Really?
Yeah, seems like you just hate bourbon. You know, shortly after you passed out. Yeah, too much of the good stuff, I assume.
You looked down on yourself. You were dressed in your PJs. Did you change my clothes?
Well, don't get upset.
The truth was that they were both torn and covered in your blood. So you had to quickly fix that.
The truth is you vomited all over yourself.
You blushed hard. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. An embarrassed moment of silence followed.
I mean, it's okay. It's better than you going crazy.
He looked down at his feet. He hated lying to you. You sat up, placing a hand on his. Are you okay? His gaze shifted to you, and he smiled, putting his other hand on your cheek, causing you to blush.
Just stay the way that you are. Okay? Promise me that.
You looked at him, smiling. I promise. For a beautiful, quiet moment, you got lost into each other's eyes. As taking note of how pretty your eyes were when they weren't filled with the desire to eat and kill. They were like beautiful pearls. You audibly gulped. What happened next might be simply because he was the first person to treat you nicely. Well, outside of Charlie and Vaggy, of course. But from a moment to the other, both of you had the same impulse, the same need, the same desire. Your faces pushed together, lips touching hungrily. And for a moment he was mistaking your passion for another frenzy transformation. Even though that didn't make sense. Your lips still tasted vaguely like your blood. I was glad that you didn't notice it, though. Husk felt your breath brush over his face. You could smell him. He reeked of booze and sweat, and yet it wasn't disgusting, somehow. But just as his curious tongue prodded against your lips, you pulled away, shyly.
What's wrong, Tina?
He hushed. I don't know. What if this is my trigger? He gulped, inhaling silently through his nose.
Then I'll deal with it.
He knew how now, he thought. You gave him an almost afraid look, and yet this feeling Husk gave you was too powerful. You wanted to feel it more. And so you pressed yourself against him, mouth half open to allow his tongue access. His was a little rough, like a mix somewhere between a human and a cat tongue. You exhaled pleased, and then allowed yourself to be pushed into the fluff of your bed by him, to embrace his love and feel him deep inside you. Thank you for watching my video until the very end, but before I say goodbye, I would like to say a personal thank you to all of my darling butlers and darling stewards for being wonderful members of my channel. We have Anonymous Weep, Sleepy Town, Angel, Zachary, Nicodemus D, Ash Wisdom, The Tribute, and AJ Anime Girl. Your support is greatly appreciated, as well as the support of all of my wonderful darling mates. And again, thank you for watching and thank you for your support. Goodbye.